to chat a little bit about our emotions and mood, especially through this pandemic. And you guys are totally, welcome to unmute and ask me a question, or to type in the chat box any questions or concerns or comments. Does everyone know here how to use the chat box? Type in something in the chat box if you are familiar. Just type in yes or something in the chat box if you know how to use the chat box. That way I know that everyone's familiar with the chat box with that. All right, I guess it's just me. Well, you're totally welcome to unmute and ask questions as well. And you're welcome to go on video if you wanted to and participate. But how many of us here have definitely gone through some emotional swings during this pandemic, right? Being locked down at home and not being able to either go to church or meet up with friends and family, or community centers or senior centers that we've been part of for a long time. I know that I obviously have been affected. Prior to the lockdown, this year I had about 200 lecture events live in person that was scheduled for. Most of them are at different community centers in Orange County, senior centers and hospitals and things of that sort. And boom, all of a sudden March comes along and everything closed, right? And I know the senior centers, community centers are still closed as well. And so those lectures were all canceled. And if you can imagine, what I do in my career is that I am a public speaker and an educator for patients. And we talk about health prevention and wellness and things of that sort. 200 times a year, I'm going to talk about that. And boom, everything closed. And there's good news and bad news that came out of that. Good news is I've learned Zoom really well. I'm Zooming every day now, actually, right? This is my my third Zoom event today. And I got one more this afternoon. So we've learned Zoom really well. We've learned how to connect on the internet really well. But one thing I do notice is that being at home, in following, all this concerns with the pandemic and with virus and being locked down, the one thing we have seen is an increase in depression in our communities, an increase in anxiety, an increase in alcoholism, drug use, an increase in domestic violence among family members because of this pandemic. I guess folks are not used to being locked down 24/7 with another person, right? And before that, I mean, if you went to work and all that, and you came home and you have a few hours to interact with your loved ones, and it's no big deal. But now you're with your loved ones 24/7, and so there are stuff that irritates them or irritates you and things of that sort. But definitely depression, guys, is a huge thing that we have seen during this pandemic. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Can anyone here relate to that as far as depression, anxiety, things of that sort? Anyone here can relate to that? And you're certainly welcome to chat in the chat box and things of that sort if it's something that you've noticed. But definitely a few thoughts that I had about this. And what's interesting is that most of us during this pandemic, many of us, at least the first few months, have stayed indoors, right? So we spent our time indoors long term. and we don't go out. We obviously, minimize our time at the beach and go into areas of public where a lot of people are around. And I have noticed an association between the lack of vitamin D, which is something you get with the sun, right? With sun exposure, along with depression. We've seen that correlation, guys. We've seen a correlation with, and we see that correlation more in what we call seasonal depression, meaning toward the winter, more people are depressed than during the summer. And obviously that has a lot to do with exposure to sunlight and exposure to, just going outdoors in general. The second thing I've noticed is this. Did you know that depression isn't necessarily caused by external environments? Did you know that depression isn't necessarily caused by external environments? And the reason I say that is in our research, and I'm in the field of clinical research, we have noticed a strong link between depression and our diet. And I don't know if your diet has changed in this pandemic, right? Or if it's the same, but we are realizing that what we feed ourselves can affect our emotional health. What we feed ourselves, the food decisions that we make, can determine if we're going to be happy or sad. Can you believe that? That our food choices. Maybe that's why some people binge when they are depressed, right? They call it binge eating and things of that sort. But I want to make a connection with you between your food, your nutrition, and your mood. Have anyone here heard of the microbiome? Microbiome, I'm gonna type it down for you here. Microbiome is the makeup of the bacteria that lives in your gut. Okay, there's another name we use for the microbiome. It's called gut flora. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of gut flora or microbiome, but our gut is lined with bacteria. It's lined with good bacteria and bad bacteria, is what we normally see in our gut. And our gut starts at the mouth, right? And it goes all the way down your esophagus, goes into your stomach, and then the small intestine, and then the large intestine, and then it comes out, right? The other end. That's your gut. So your gut is one long tube, okay? Your gut is one long tube. And that tube is lined with bacteria. Good bacteria and bad bacteria. Did you know that of the total amount of bacteria that's in your body, right? The total number of bacteria that lives with you in your body, of that total count, 90% of all the bacteria that live with you lives in your gut. Okay? So 90% of your bacteria lives in your gut. And 10% of your bacteria lives in other parts of your body, right? 90% of it lives in your gut. So that's quite interesting. Did you know that your immune system, which is the white blood cell counts, right? Your immune system is white blood cell counts. And of the total immune system cells in your body, of all the immune system cells in your body, right? 70% of your immune system is in your gut, right? 70% I'll type this out, of your immune cells lives in your gut. And that's quite interesting. So the question is, why does all your immune system, right? Why does most of your immune system live in your gut and not, in other parts of your body? And it's simply because, the bacteria is there, right? 90% of your bacteria is there. So if 90% of your bacteria is there, then your immune system's going to be there just to keep an eye out on the bacteria that's there, just in case one of those bad bacteria breaks through, okay? Now, did you know that the bacteria that lives in your gut serves a purpose? They're not there just to hang out, right? They're not there just sitting around to hang out. Does anyone know, and you can type in the chat box, does anyone know what the purpose of the good bacteria is in your gut? Why is the good bacteria there? What does it do, right? What is its purpose? Does anyone know why the good bacteria lives there in your gut? Does it do something? Is it involved in something? Or is it just hanging out? All right? Any thoughts on that, guys? We have a quiet group today, huh? That's all right. The good bacteria, that's right, digests. It protects the body from the bad bacteria. Yes, Stephanie, that's right. And so those are both right? So the good bacteria serves 4 different purposes. It does 4 different things, and I will type it out for you. The first thing that it does is that it helps with digestion. It helps with digestion, okay? And you're gonna wonder, what does this have to do with depression, with a depression lecture, right? And you're gonna realize the connection as soon as I'm done. So the first thing it does is that it helps with digestion. So it digests your food, right? It breaks down toxins, okay? It breaks down the toxins that's in your gut with that. The third thing it does is that it helps to protect the lining of the gut, right? The barrier, the gut barrier, help strengthen the gut barrier. Helps to strengthen the gut barrier, right? So your gut is one long tube, right? That starts in your mouth and it goes all the way down to the other end, right? Of the anus and rectum. So it's one long tube. And so the good bacteria helps to strengthen the barrier of that tube. If you can imagine your gut lining, right? The lining of your intestines and all that, if you can imagine the lining of your gut as equivalent to the walls of a castle, right? So every castle, every medieval castle has a big wall around it, right? Making sense so far? Every medieval castle has a big wall around it. And so there's a castle in the middle, and the wall protects the castle, right? The wall protects the castle. So the lining of your gut is the wall, right? This big wall that protects the body inside against anything inside the gut that may not be healthy. If you ate something wrong or bad, right, or toxic, the lining of your gut keeps that stuff separate and it doesn't get into your bloodstream. So your gut lining is the wall. If the gut lining is the wall of your castle, the good bacteria are the soldiers that stand on top of the wall to protect the castle. Okay, am I making sense so far, guys? Betty says inflammation, yes, right? So the good bacteria are the soldiers that stand on the wall of the castle to protect the castle, right? To protect the lining. So that's the third thing that it does, is that it helps strengthen the gut barrier. The fourth and last thing that your gut does, your good bacteria does, is that it makes, okay, it makes proteins, such as hormones and neurotransmitters and things of that sort. It makes proteins, right? It makes vitamins. Okay, did you know that your good bacteria makes vitamin? Does anyone know one vitamin, a popular vitamin, that is required by good bacteria to make? Any guesses of what vitamin is required by the good bacteria to make? Vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is needed it requires good bacteria. So if you didn't have good bacteria, you don't make vitamin B12. Imagine the number of folks walking around with B12 deficiency. Do you know what is a symptom of vitamin B12 deficiency? If you don't have enough vitamin B12 in your system, what are some of the symptoms of that? Does anyone know what happens when you don't have enough vitamin B12? Anyone know? Yes, tired, lazy, exhaustion, fatigue, energy, right? So the lack of energy, the lack of feeling energetic is a symptom of vitamin B12 deficiency. Another symptom of vitamin B12 deficiency is neuropathy. Neuropathy in the legs, feeling numbness and tingling in the legs. Right? Another symptom of vitamin B12 deficiency is dementia, memory loss. That's right, confusion. Yes, confusion and memory loss is due to vitamin B12 deficiency, right? And so, again, it tells you how important it is to have good bacteria in your gut compared to bad bacteria, right? There's one more thing that the good bacteria does, is that it crowds out and prevents bad bacteria from growing, right? It crowds out and prevents bad bacteria from growing. So that's another purpose with that. Now, let me ask you a question, and we'll go back to depression here. What is the name of the neurotransmitter, the enzyme hormone that's in the brain, that if you don't have enough of it in your brain, it causes depression? Does anyone know? Anyone know the name of the neurotransmitter used in the brain that if you don't have enough of it, it causes depression? This is like Jeopardy, right? Hey, you're good. Serotonin. Yes. Anyone heard of serotonin before? Is this your first time hearing about it, or have you guys heard about serotonin before, right? Yes. Not having serotonin. Yes, so Lamb has heard about it. Someone's iPad has heard about it. The deficiency of serotonin, guys, leads to depression. How do we know that? Stephanie's heard about it. We know that because the antidepressants we take today, Prozac, Paxil, right? The different popular antidepressants we take today, all they do is that they boost the serotonin levels in your brain. That's all it does. And so now you know how these antidepressants work, because serotonin, right, is lacking in the brain. By the way, there's actually 3 other neurotransmitters in the brain. There's 4 neurotransmitters in the brain. Serotonin is one of them. Do you guys know the other 3? Anyone know what the other neurotransmitters are besides serotonin that's in your brain? Any thoughts about that? What are the other neurotransmitter? Let's see. Cortisol is not in your brain. Cortisol is produced in your adrenal glands. In your adrenal glands. What are the other three? Have you guys heard of dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is in the brain. What happens when you don't have dopamine, guys? What is the purpose of dopamine in the brain? Anyone know what dopamine does? When you stimulate dopamine receptors in the brain, what do you get? Dopamine is the pleasure center of our brain. Happy, pleasure, yes, that's right. You're good. Yes, the pleasure center of our brain is dopamine. It's kind of like, how many of you guys are chocolate lovers? How many of you guys love chocolate? Type in yes if you are a chocolate lover. Stephanie's a chocolate lover. Okay. iPad is a chocolate lover. That's it? Just 2 chocolate lovers? Right? And so I'm a chocolate lover, right? And what happens when you take that first bite of chocolate and it's your favorite chocolate, whether it's caramel chocolate or dark chocolate, right? You get that first bite of chocolate and you get that wow sensation, right? The euphoria of getting that first bite of chocolate. And this can be the euphoria from, ice cream, if ice cream is your favorite thing, right? So that is dopamine. That is dopamine. That wow, pleasure sensation. That's dopamine, guys. Do you know what else stimulates the dopamine receptors besides chocolate and ice cream and your favorite dessert? Sugar. Sugar stimulates dopamine, right? This is why sugar is an addiction that we may not even realize we are addicted to, right? I think all of America is addicted to sugar because we need our desserts, right? We need our ice creams, cookies, candies, brownies, things of that sort. And not only am I talking about just direct sugar, I'm talking about sugar that is broken down from carbohydrates, white rice, right? White bread, pasta, potatoes, pizza, bananas, right? Sugar. And sugar stimulates dopamine. Do you know what else stimulates dopamine? Cocaine and heroin. This is why drug addicts are addicts. They're addicts because it stimulates dopamine receptors to get that high, right? That euphoria. That's dopamine. That's also news in the brain, right? So caffeine, caffeine stimulates another area that wakes you up, right? So you got serotonin in the brain. The lack of serotonin leads to depression. You got dopamine in the brain, which is the euphoria area, the happy area of the brain when stimulated, which is an addiction, right? Which is why sugar is an addiction. There's 2 more. A third one is called GABA, G-A-B-A. Any of you guys heard of GABA or gabapentin or things of that sort? GABA is a neurotransmitter. There's a medication called gabapentin that is prescribed often. It's also Neurontin. Neurontin is the brand name. Gabapentin is more the generic name. That medication is prescribed by doctors often for neuropathic pain. And what GABA does in our brain is that it suppresses pain, it helps with pain. The lack of GABA leads to chronic pain disorder, hurting all the time and things of that sort, which is why Neurontin or gabapentin is prescribed for pain, for chronic pain with that. So GABA is the third neurotransmitter that is there in the brain. There's one last neurotransmitter that you guys should know about. It's called acetylcholine. Have anyone heard of acetylcholine before? Or is this, anyone heard of acetylcholine before? Yes or no? With that, Stephanie says no, iPad says no, Golden Future says no. Wow, I'm actually going to teach you guys something today. Yay, because you guys knew all the other answers. So, acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter. The lack of acetylcholine causes this one condition. You'll be surprised. You won't forget acetylcholine after this. The lack of acetylcholine causes what? Here you go. Causes memory loss. Alzheimer's, memory loss. Acetylcholine is required for memory. Not having enough acetylcholine. Stephanie says, I forgot. Yes, that's right, right? Not having enough acetylcholine, right, leads to memory loss. This is why our Alzheimer's medication, right, medications that we prescribe for Alzheimer's, which is, let me type it down for you guys here, which is Aricept, Donazepam, right? And then there's two others. There's a patch called Exelon patch and a fourth one, right? These medications here, guys, all they do is they boost the acetylcholine levels in your brain to help you with memory, right? So these Alzheimer's pills, Aricept, Donazepam, all they do is they boost your levels of acetylcholine. In the same way that antidepressants like Prozac and Paxil, all they do is they boost serotonin levels in your brain, right? Now, what does this have to do with depression? It has to do with depression because of this. All four of these neurotransmitters, right, are made in your gut. All four of these neurotransmitters are made in your gut by the good bacteria in your gut. For example, depression. 90% of serotonin is made in your gut by the good bacteria. So guys, we are seeing over the years a steady rise of depression in the United States. We are seeing over the years a steady rise of Alzheimer's over the years in the United States. Why are these conditions rising over time? Right? Why are these conditions like Alzheimer's and depression and things of that sort rising over time? Anyone know? Well, it is because our gut is not healthy. Dirt gut. Yes, it is because our gut is not healthy. So my question to you is, what damages our gut? What causes our gut to be unhealthy? And an unhealthy gut, a gut that is lacking the good bacteria, right? What are we doing that is destroying the good bacteria? Wrong food. Yes, yes. What are some examples of wrong foods? Give me some examples of wrong food. Yes, sugar, fast food, absolutely correct. What sugar does is that sugar feeds the bad bacteria to make it grow. Sugar feeds parasites that make them grow, right? And it crowds out the good bacteria. Yes, fried foods creates inflammation in our gut. Fast food creates inflammation in our gut. The American diet creates inflammation in our gut, right? If your gut is a machine, if your gut is a factory, and the purpose of that factory is to digest food, to break down toxins and all that, right? How often is this factory working during the day? Does anyone know? How often is your factory working during the day? How many meals do Americans have a day? Stephanie says all the time. Yes, yes. By the way, I'm gonna put down my email address here for you guys because normally after I'm done with the lecture, I know that many of you will start having more questions to ask, and you're totally welcome to email me. It's just my name at alzoc.org, which stands for Alzheimer's Orange County.org. And I work in the field of Alzheimer's prevention and risk reduction and things of that sort. If you're interested in that, you can just email me on that topic. But yes, our gut is working all the time. Our gut is working from the time we wake up when we have breakfast, and then we have after breakfast snack, and then there's lunch, and then there's after lunch snack, and then there's dinner, and then there's after dinner snack, right? Or if we snack like most Americans do, we're always nibbling on something or eating something for a snack. So every time we eat, our gut is working. Every time we eat something, our gut is working to digest the food, right? It's a machine. It's a factory that does that. And here's the problem, guys. The problem is that our gut is overworked because it has no rest time. The only time our gut rests is when we go to sleep. And even then, Americans have sleep deprivation, right? Chronic sleep deprivation. We don't even get enough sleep, right? I don't even know how much sleep I got last night. Probably about 5-6 hours, right? That's sleep deprivation. And so our gut never gets to rest. And if you have a factory, right? If you have a factory, which is what your gut is, a factory that's working, and you made the employees of that factory work all the time, right? From the time you wake up, which is breakfast, to the time you go to bed, which is midnight snack or after dinner, dessert and things of that sort. This factory's been working all day. What happens to a factory that has to work all day? Does anyone know? What happens to a factory that has to work all day? Yes, 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 yes. Yes to all the above, right? Shuts down, breaks down, things break down. That's right. Things break. It doesn't work efficiently, right? So what happens is it starts to lose the good bacteria. The food that we eat kills off good bacteria. And if we kill off good bacteria, the function, the purpose of the good bacteria starts to break down, right? It doesn't digest food. It doesn't, break down toxins. It doesn't make the neurotransmitters that's needed for your brain, such as serotonin, acetylcholine, dopamine, right? GABA. It doesn't make those neurotransmitters that is required when we break down the factory, when we break down and burn out the gut because it's working all day. And this, guys, is why we are seeing a rate of increase with depression. This is why we are seeing a rate of increase with Alzheimer's. And so I hope you see the connection here, guys, that during this pandemic, although being stuck at home is depressing and anxiety and all the above from being cooped up in your home, right? Depression isn't necessarily just about being cooped up. Depression oftentimes has a lot to do with what you're feeding ourselves. right? The type of diet we eat, and how we're doing with our gut, right? With this machine, what we're doing to it. Are we burning our guts out, right? What else kills good bacteria? How many guys have taken an antibiotic this year? How many guys have taken an antibiotic this year? Probably not a lot because we've all been cooped up. Nobody's been to the doctor. Oh, iPad took penicillin. Stephanie hasn't taken anything. Good, good, right? When we take an antibiotic, not only does it kill the bad bacteria, right? It also wipes out the good bacteria that's in our gut. Every time you take a course of antibiotic, it wipes out the good bacteria. And when you wipe out the good bacteria, it's not making the neurotransmitters that you need, right? And we know these neurotransmitters is linked to depression, it's linked to Alzheimer's, it's linked to chronic pain, it's linked to your pleasure center. Whenever you wipe out your good bacteria, you're losing those required neurotransmitter for brain health. Do you know how long it takes to replenish the good bacteria after a course of antibiotics? Does anyone know how long it takes to replenish the good bacteria? Too long? iPad says 7 days. Too long? That's too funny. You ever notice you take an antibiotic and then you have GI side effects, right? Which is very popular and common among antibiotics. Like you take an antibiotic and you have like diarrhea, or you have stomach cramping, or extra gas, or whatever it is, right? It depends on the antibiotic. Well, the reason you have GI side effects is simply this: you have killed off the good bacteria that keeps your gut healthy. And so if your gut bacteria, the good gut bacteria is dead, then it doesn't do its function and it causes diarrhea. It causes malabsorption, right? It causes cramping and bloating and gas and different things of that sort. So the side effects of antibiotics is simply the result of the antibiotic killing your good bacteria. Is that making sense so far, guys? And here's the thing with antibiotics that you should know. Even though you may have not taken an antibiotic, right, over the last year, did you know that you've eaten antibiotics without realizing it? Where does antibiotics come from that we eat without realizing it? That's right. Animal meat, beef, right? Did you know that we pump up our cows with hormones and antibiotics the rest all their lives? We pump our cows with hormones because we want our cows to be fat, to grow fast so we can make more profit. Yes, Stephanie, you are right, and steroids as well, right? We pump our cows with hormones for those reasons. We pump up our cows with antibiotics because who wants a cow that dies early, right? Who gets sick from an infection and die? So to prevent our cows from getting infected, we feed them all their lives with antibiotics. And so when you're eating that medium rare steak, when you're eating that hamburger, that hot dog, right? When we're eating beef, we are not just eating beef, we are eating hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. And remember, the antibiotics that get through us to the beef, they destroy your gut health. They destroy the good bacteria. And as a result of that, right? As a result of that, yeah, our gut becomes unhealthy. And it doesn't produce the hormones and the neurotransmitters that it needs for depression treatment, right? Or for Alzheimer's and memory loss. So it's all connected. What I'm really saying is that you are what you eat, and you can eat your way to emotional and mental health if you eat appropriately with that. What can you eat for depression? Stephanie says, I'm a fish. So the question is not just what you can eat for depression. The question is, what can you eat to improve the number of good bacteria that makes the hormones and that makes the neurotransmitters such as serotonin, right? To prevent depression. And so do you guys know what foods to eat to help with good bacteria? Any thoughts on that? Type in the chat box. What food can you eat? Vegas? Really? Well, I guess Vegas will help with depression if you're at the buffet. But it may exacerbate depression if you put it all on red and you got black, right? So Vegas can either make you happy or very depressed, depending on how you do at the gambling table. Fruits and veggies, yogurt, meals with many colors. Very good, guys. So I'm gonna give you a list of 10 foods. Stephanie says kimchi. I'm gonna give you a list of 10 foods that will help promote good bacteria in your gut, okay? 10 foods that help promote good bacteria in your gut. Does everyone have a piece of pen and paper to take notes? What's that? Yeah, I know, right? I don't take notes anymore. I'm gonna give you a list of 10 foods that has good bacteria that's gonna promote your good bacteria in it, okay? Number one is yogurt, okay? Yogurt. And I'm not talking about the yogurt that has all the sugar in it, right? Like, you know, like the sugary yogurt, because that's bad for you, okay? But you can probably get yogurt that's healthy, which is the Greek yogurt. Yes, Greek non-flavored, right? Yogurt. Icelandic, yes. Yogurt's one of the most popular and widely consumed probiotic foods, right? And there's two types of good bacteria that you're eating when you eat yogurt. There's two types of good bacteria that you're populating your gut with. One is called Streptococcus thermophilus, and the second one is called Lactobacillus, right? And those are the two. You can add fruit, yes, that's fine, as long as it's not sugar, right? If you have natural fruit, no worries. I just worry about all that extra sugar that the yogurt company puts in with that. But those two bacteria is what's found in yogurt: Streptococcus and Lactobacillus. Those are two good bacteria that will line up your gut with that. Okay, so that's number one. The next food for your gut that's healthy, besides yogurt, is kimchi. Kimchi is a Korean, right? If you got, how many guys here are fans of Korean food? Korean barbecue, right? Yeah, kimchi is fermented cabbage, I think. Fermented cabbage. Has lots of good bacteria in it with that. So if you are a Korean food fan, that's where you get your kimchi. I don't know where else can you buy kimchi. Can you buy it at Whole Foods or Mother's Market or I don't know. I don't know where else you can get kimchi. I just get mine when I eat Korean food. But if you have a source of kimchi, type it down where you get your kimchi so we can all kind of benefit from that. The next on the list is kefir. Kefir. I don't know if I spelled it right. Kefir. There's a place in Alhambra for kimchi, huh? Good. So kefir is next. Does anyone know what kefir is? Long E. Kefir, is it kefir or kefir? Kefir? Stephanie, maybe you can unmute yourself and teach me how to say that. You know, English is like my second language, guys. ESL, right? Came here from Vietnam, speak Vietnamese, and you're gonna Google it first? Okay. So kefir is another probiotic, rich, it's a dairy food, right? It's a dairy product. It's available, I think, in most supermarkets. Unlike yogurt, where many people who are lactose intolerant cannot do yogurt, right, to get their probiotics, right, or their good biotics. So if you are lactose intolerant, you can do kefir. Kefir. Oh, wait, what? Kefir? Kafir? Kefir? Is that how you say it? Kefir? Okay, never mind. Whatever it is, right? It's Kefir. So it's a beverage that you can drink. Kefir, what and it's made by adding, I think, lactic acid bacteria and yeast called grains, right, to cows and all that. And
Google says
anyway,
kefir.
What does Google say?
You pronounce it kefir.
Kefir. Kefir. Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay. Ah, yes.
I don't know. Maybe Google is from out of town too. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, it could be. Could be. There's a question: is dairy foods good or bad for the gut? Is dairy food bad for the gut? For those who are lactose intolerant, obviously dairy is not good for the gut. And dairy, I'm not a fan of dairy because dairy comes from milk. And the quality of your milk depends on the quality of your cows, right? Do you see the connection here? If you have cows that were pumped with antibiotics and hormones and steroids, you know, all that stuff's going to come through the milk, guys, and then you're going to drink the milk, right? I'm not really a fan of dairy for that reason with that. So anyway, kefir is another source of probiotics for those who are lactose intolerant. Is kefir, okay? All right. Next on the list. What about a supplement called what? Acidophilus 3? What is that? Acidophilus 3. Well, I see acidophilus. I see acidophilus in there, but I'm not sure what this acidophilus is with that. Okay. So, by the way, did you know there are 7 types of probiotic bacteria that are out there? Lactobacillus has several types. There's 3 types. There's Lactobacillus acidophilus. There's Lactobacillus bulgarius. There's Lactobacillus reuteri. There's Saccharomyces, which is also a good bacteria. There's Streptococcus, which is a good bacteria. There's Bifidobacterium, which is a good bacteria. There's Bacillus, this is also a good bacteria, guys, with that. So that's more information than you need, but I want you to know that there are many good types of bacteria out there besides just bacteria. Okay, next one is sauerkraut. How many of you guys are a fan of sauerkraut, which has a lot of good bacteria in it, right? Has a lot of good bacteria now. Somebody says yuck. Stephanie says not so much. iPad says yes. The only time I remember sauerkraut is doing medical school in New York. And so I would work in the hospitals in New York City. I would walk outside of the hospital, and there it is, my favorite hot dog stand. And these are New York hot dogs, guys, right in the middle of the street. And they always put in the hot dogs sauerkraut. And those are my memories of sauerkraut. It is made from fermented cabbage, and it's not as diverse in probiotics, but it's high in organic acids. And that's what gives you the sour taste behind there. But it does support the growth of good bacteria. Okay, sauerkraut is good on the list. Next one on the list is, have you guys heard of kombucha? Kombucha? I'm trying to spell that. Kombucha. It's a, yes, the drink. Where do you buy it? Where do you guys buy kombucha? Where do they sell it? Anyone know? Rouse has it? Really? Oh, regular stores, okay. I've only seen it at Whole Foods is where I get my kombucha at Whole Foods typically. So super important. It's a drink, right? And I think it's like a fermentation of black tea is what it is. I think they get tea and then they ferment the tea with bacteria and yeast. Kombucha has been around for like, I don't know, several thousand years now. I believe it originated in Japan. But there's all kinds of health claims with kombucha. I know for sure that you get good bacteria from it. There's benefits of digestion. I've heard of benefits of increased energy and liver detoxification and all these different benefits. But I know for sure that kombucha has a lot of good probiotics in it with that. Have you guys heard of coconut kefir or kefir? There's a thing of this, what they do is they ferment the juice of young coconuts with these kefir grains. This is a dairy-free option for kefir as well, using coconut juice. So it's been pretty interesting. And it tastes better, I think. It tastes a lot better than just plain old kefir with that. Okay, next one on the list is, have you heard of natto? Natto, N-A-T-T-O. Does that ring a bell? Stephanie says no. iPad says, no one's heard of natto? Oh, okay. I think they sell in the store with that. And what it is, this is also a dish from Japan, right? And it consists of fermented soybeans. Soybeans is what natto has. I'm pretty sure you can buy it at the store with fermented soybeans. And it contains a really powerful probiotic, a really powerful bacteria, which is called Bacillus, Bacillus. Bacillus has been shown to boost your immune system. Bacillus, good bacteria, has been shown to support heart health and enhance the digestion of vitamin K2. Different than tempeh, not the same as tempeh. That's right, but tempeh is also on the list of good bacteria. So vitamin K2 is becoming more popular these days. Have you guys heard of vitamin K2? Like a few years ago, no one has heard of vitamin K2. If you go to the vitamin store now, it's all over the place. K2. It's YK2 as opposed to Y2K. Is that right? YK2 is opposed to Y2K. Vitamin K2 is being used now in that that it helps with calcium metabolism. Calcium metabolism. It's promoted now for osteoporosis. It's promoted now for the health of your bones. It's promoted now for a number of things: bone health, osteoporosis, osteopenia. But I believe there's a good chance that it may have some benefit for heart health as well, because of that calcium deposits that occur in our blood vessels that leads up to clogging of the arteries and things of that sort. But vitamin K2, again, is processed through good bacteria, right? Through good bacteria. Natto helps to process vitamin K2. That's another vitamin. Another one is raw cheese. Goat's milk is what I'm thinking of. Sheep's milk are very high in probiotics. Although I'm not sure any one of us here is a fan of goat's milk. Well, I don't know. I don't even know where you get it, but it has a lot of probiotics. Bulgaricus probiotics, acidophilus probiotics, good bacteria is in raw cheese with that. But if you want to buy the cheese with the probiotics, you want to buy it raw and unpasteurized if you want to receive any of the probiotic benefits. Because if you pasteurize the cheese and process the cheese, you basically strip out the good bacteria. Does that make sense? You want unpasteurized raw cheese if you want the good bacteria in it. So what is that, guys? Was that number 10 yet? I don't even remember what number I'm at. What number am I at? Am I at 9, 8, 10? 8? Okay. You guys got, all right, you guys got good memories. Okay, here's another one. Pickles. Pickles is a good source of good bacteria. Yum, right? I mean, do you guys ever eat pickles outside of hamburgers and hot dogs? I wish I did more, but I never have access to pickles. The only time I see a pickle is inside my hamburger or something. But would love to see more pickles. Garlic pickles. Ooh. Sweet or sour. As long as they're pickled, it wouldn't matter. Sweet or sour. I don't know what to eat pickles with. That's the thing. Other than a hamburger. If I knew more recipes with pickles, we probably would be eating more pickles. But these are basically, cucumbers and out of the jar. Yes, that has a lot of probiotics. If you are a pickle fan. One last thing for you guys, number 10. Okay, number 10 on the list of probiotics. Typing it out. Is apple cider vinegar. It is a good source of probiotic, and theoretically it helps with like reducing cholesterol and improving your insulin sensitivity, things of that sort. But apple cider vinegar has been a good source of probiotic. How much daily? Just a little bit daily. Drink a small bit daily. Or you can add it to your salad dressing so that it doesn't necessarily taste the greatest thing, but you can add it to salad or salad dressing. Apple cider vinegar, white or brown? Stephanie says add to water with a bit of honey. Ooh, that sounds good. I don't think I've ever tried that. I mean, I'm not a fan of apple cider vinegar, but it is on the list. Simply because it tastes kind of, I don't know, soury to me with that. Is this helpful, you guys? And the whole reason I'm talking about probiotics is this. The whole reason we're going through this list is that this list adds to the good bacteria, right? It adds to the good bacteria. And the good bacteria makes the serotonin that helps with depression, right? I'm teaching you a plant-based technique to improve your mood, right? The original question is, what can we eat to help with depression? I've just given you a list of 10, right? A plant-based technique, a plant-based technique to help with depression is from eating, the probiotics, which is the good bacteria that make the hormones and neurotransmitters that is needed to for mental health, for emotional health, to ward off depression. Yeah, so today's talk was on depression, and I hope I provided some value to you guys. How many of you guys would like a book that I've written on Alzheimer's risk reduction? Anyone interested in that book? Alzheimer's risk reduction. If you're interested in that, does physical activity fit in? Yes, physical activity, including exercise, help to build endorphins. So yes, very important. Physical activity and exercise fit into, and then getting enough sunlight, right, for that vitamin D, also very important with that. I put in my email for you guys. Take down my email. I have written a book. It's on Amazon. So I'm gonna pull up Amazon for you, right? This is Amazon. And if you go to Amazon and you just put down my name, basically, and Alzheimer's, let me see here. If you go down to Amazon and you put my name and Alzheimer's, there's a book that pops up right there. And that is my my book on Alzheimer's risk reduction. And this is the actual book here. It's one of Amazon's bestseller. I would like to email you that book at no cost if you're interested in that, because I am passionate on reducing the risk of Alzheimer's. That's the work I do, and clinical trials and all that. If you're interested in a book on Alzheimer's risk reduction, just shoot me an email. Just say, let me know that you met me at the Golden Future Club event lecture, and you're interested in the book on Alzheimer's, and I will send you that book with that. And all right. Okay, guys, I think we're set, right?
Yes, I think so. This was very thorough, a lot of great information. We're at 12, so I guess we'll go ahead and sign off if there's no questions. And we thank you, doctor, so much for your time. And this was really great.
Anytime. Well, God bless. See you guys later.
God bless.
And shoot me an email if you need anything. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.